If you're like me, you probably use words every day without giving much thought to their origin. Take, for example, the word dashboard. Dashboard was originally used to describe the wooden board attached to the front of horse-drawn carriages to protect the drivers and passengers from mud and rocks being splashed or dashed onto them by the horses that pulled them about. In essence, dashboards served as mud flaps for horses' hooves. It wasn't until the early 1900s when carriages became dependent on motors instead of horses and became cars that dashboards were repurposed to house vehicle instruments like speedometers and gas gauges. We're going to combine the best of the old dashboards, that is, a means of protection, with the newer meaning of dashboard, a panel of instruments to help with the efficient operation of a vehicle. And we're going to apply those to your leadership, as I explain in today's episode of Construction Genius, the Construction Leader's Dashboard. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. The Construction Leader's Dashboard is a tool that enables you to maximize your leadership impact. And it is designed to do two things. Number one, protect you from distraction and overwhelm. And number two, give you visibility on a number of relevant areas so that you can stay in control and keep focused on what's most important to your leadership impact and effectiveness. In today's episode, we're going to cover three things. Number one, 8 distinguishing characteristics of great leaders. Secondly, we're going to talk about the benefits of using a dashboard. And then third, we'll take a detailed look at the Construction Leader's Dashboard. Let's begin with the distinguishing marks of great leaders. And there are 8 of them that we're going to talk about today. First one is they know what they are striving for. They make tangible their goals and their direction. And they're not afraid to try to do something big and great. Number 2, they know why they are striving for those big goals. They understand their own motivations, and they allow those motivations to focus their efforts on a daily basis. They realize that they are a unique person in a unique time and place. And as a result of that, they have a unique opportunity. Think about that for a moment, where you are in your business at this time and place as you're listening to the podcast. There are things that only you can do, that only you can achieve. And there are motivations that are unique to you. And you should know those motivations and be able to tap into them. And that's what great leaders are able to do. They know what those deep motivations are that they have, and that helps to drive them through the tough times they often face in their leadership. Thirdly, they know who they are. They have a clear identity. They understand what it looks like when they are performing and acting at their highest and best levels. And they courageously seek to spend as much time as possible being the very best version of themselves. You see, they have a code of ethics that helps them to say yes to certain opportunities and behaviors and say no to other opportunities and behaviors. And that code of ethics, it anchors them. They understand that their lives are a sum of the choices that they make. And what they achieve is not just about what they do, but how they do it as well. For great leaders, the ends do not justify every means. They insist on a high level of ethical performance. Number 4, they know what sets them apart from others. They're not obsessed with themselves, but they know what they're good at. and they know how their unique skill set impacts the company that they lead and how they can make a contribution that another person can't necessarily make. The fifth thing is they come into the office every single day knowing exactly what they need to do in order to be able to say at the end of the day, I had a good day. And they take that perspective of executing on specific tasks and they broaden that to a series of other tasks that affect their business on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis. In other words, they're focused. They don't take on too much. They're great at filtering what's important and what isn't. The sixth thing is they know how to measure how they're going to be successful. They're not afraid to measure themselves and to be held accountable for their activities. They understand that what gets measured gets monitored, and they know how to identify the right metric, whether it be a leading indicator or a lagging indicator. And they don't want just vanity metrics that make them look good, but they want metrics that tell them how they are performing currently, how they performed in the past, and how they may perform in the future. Number 7, they understand that relationships are essential to their success, and they are always focused on strengthening those relationships. They value every person that they interact with. They treat every person they come into contact with respect. They know that they need other people to succeed. And they see themselves as both teachers and learners, followers and leaders, mentors and mentees. And they're humble in their relationships in that they believe that they can learn from everyone and that they have a contribution to make in every relationship that they are in. And then finally, and this goes right along with that, is they're always seeking to grow and develop. They're not stagnant. They don't know it all. They look to the past in order to learn, and they think about how they may apply that in the future in order to develop. They have a young attitude about themselves in that they're always wide-eyed about the opportunities to grow and to develop themselves both technically and relationally in the field that they are in specifically, as well as in broader ways in terms of their leadership and their character. So those are 8 characteristics or hallmarks of great leaders. And you're going to see why these are important as we go through the podcast today. And I understand that they sound like a lot, but you're going to see how they can be summarized all on one page as we get into the details of the Construction Leaders Dashboard. Now, let's talk about the benefits of having a dashboard. You remember when we talked about the definition of the word, the dashboard initially was for protection from the dirt kicked up by the horses. And then as carriages became cars, it became an instrument panel so that you can have an understanding of things like how much gas you have and how fast you're going and all that kind of stuff. And so the benefits of a dashboard are multivaried. And the first thing it can do, it can give you clarity. It's interesting. I have an old Honda Odyssey. And right now, the speedometer is broken. And I'm going to give this Honda Odyssey to my oldest son. I'm not going to give it to him, but I'm going to allow him to drive it when he turns 16 next year. The problem with this is the minivan works great, but the speedometer doesn't work at the moment. Now, I don't care, right? Because I just drive it around on a Saturday. It's kind of my hoopty van. And I don't mind if I don't know how fast I'm going because I'm not going to drive very fast. But you can imagine a 16-year-old and how they might be driving the Honda Odyssey. He needs to know how fast he's going at all times. That information is displayed through the dashboard in front of him. And so I've got to get that fixed before he drives the van. One of the benefits of a dashboard is clarity. And it gives you an idea of how fast you're going, for instance, how much gas you have left, what the state of your battery is. For some of the more sophisticated dashboards, right, you've got your tire pressure. You've got something like the Tesla dashboard, right, that you can customize exactly how you want it. But clarity is important. You need to know who you are, where you're going, what's motivating you to get there, and how you're going to get there. And the dashboard that we're going to look at a little later will tell you all about those things. Second thing a dashboard can do is it can give you focus and a filter. A dashboard can help you to avoid distraction, exploit opportunities, and it can be an alignment tool so that you are constantly reminded of who you are, where you're going, what you want to achieve, how you're going to achieve those things. Third thing is it can keep you grounded. It's easy to get tossed around in your leadership. It's easy to get distracted with the latest fire or the latest emergency. And of course, we do have to give time and effort to those fires and those emergencies. But it can keep you grounded and it can help you to stay sane amidst the challenges. And then it can also protect you. It can protect you from things that come into your leadership that would seek to rob you from your focus on what's most important. And as a result of that, you can become more action-oriented on the highest and the best use of your time. And it's very important to remain action-oriented in your leadership every day, not to be passive, taking action little by little, again and again, because over time, that action will yield great results. The next thing it'll do is it'll keep you accountable. So if you're clear on who you are and where you're going, it's easier for people to hold you accountable for your actions and for you to hold yourself accountable. And the last thing is that it will help you to be consistent. You can look at that dashboard every day and just be consistent in your execution. So the benefits of a dashboard, again, clarity, focus, keeping you grounded, keeping you protected, keeping you action-oriented, enabling you to be accountable, and then enabling you to consistently execute on what's most important. Okay, so we've talked about what distinguishes great leaders, and we've talked about the benefits of a dashboard. Now let's just dive into the dashboard itself. And I want to give a little hat tip here to one of my business mentors. His name is Andrew Knightlick. He developed this dashboard to a great extent. I've taken it and adapted it to construction. And so I want to break down the 8 areas of the construction leader's dashboard. And as you're listening to this, of course, you can go to the show notes and click on the link in the show notes, and you'll go and be able to download your own version of the dashboard. So the dashboard has 8 areas. It's vision, mission, values, edge, initiatives, metrics, relationships, and then development opportunities. I'm going to go through each one step by step, just so that you are able to think through it. And as I do, I will be illustrating it with a specific example from one of my clients. I use this dashboard with all of my clients in an executive coaching environment to help them to get focused on what's most important. So let's dive right in here. Let's talk about vision. What is vision? Why is vision important? And how is vision discovered? Let's talk about that. What is vision? If you could wave a magic wand, 2 to 5 years from now, where would you like to be in terms of your leadership? Time frame is really important here. With the Construction Leaders Dashboard, we're not necessarily looking at a 10-year vision or a 20-year vision, just 2 to 5 years. In other words, something that you can get down on a piece of paper that you know that if you put consistent effort towards, you'll be able to achieve in a relatively short amount of time. And the reason why vision is so important is it gives you direction, it gives you hope, and it helps you through the hard times. So how do you find out what your vision is? What would you like to be famous for? What results do you want to create? What new projects have you taken on? What personal leadership breakthroughs have you achieved? Ask yourself, what do you really want? So let me give you an example. I asked one of my clients, and he was working through the dashboard. This is what he put down for his vision statement. Develop a strong team of individuals that produce excellent results through sound processes. Notice the first word there, develop. So his vision was to grow something and to strengthen something, a strong team of individuals. He had this idea of team. He had this idea of individuals contributing to the team. And the way they were going to contribute is through the execution of sound processes that would produce excellent results. So this was a broad vision, a broad statement, but there were elements within that vision statement that he would be able to expound upon later on in the dashboard. And as a result of that exposition, help him to then focus on the achieving of that vision. So once you've identified what your vision is, the next part of the dashboard is your mission. And what do we mean by a mission. A mission is a strongly felt aim, ambition, or calling. A mission is a specific task that a person is sent to perform. And how do you clarify this mission? What is the difference or contribution that you want to make? What gets you excited about the impact you can have in your leadership? Answering these kinds of questions helps you to define your mission. Does your mission and your vision line up? If your mission and vision are aligned, it'll help you to tap into a well of energy and overcome the obstacles that you'll encounter during the journey. So let me go back to the client that I was working with. His vision was to develop a strong team of individuals that produce excellent results through sound processes. His mission is to do the basics, do them well, and do them every day. That was his deep why. He had a mission to do the basics, to do them well, and to do them every day. And if he executed on that mission, it would help him to achieve his vision. So once you have the mission and the vision defined, then you go on to the values. That's the third part of the construction leader's dashboard. Values are a way of behaving that define who you are, how you show up every day, and what you will or won't tolerate. So here are some idea joggers for values. Accountability, adaptability, balance, collaboration, cooperation, creativity, focus, independence, partnering, resilience, safety, tradition, unity, winning. These are all statements of values or ways of behaving, an ethical standard that you seek to achieve. If you can, put them in your own words that are unique to you, that only you understand. And make a list of 3 to 5 of these values that best describe your leadership. Make a note of how you live out these values and how you can do better. Be intolerant of your failures, but also be patient with yourself, because as you strive to achieve consistent expression of those values, you may at times come across obstacles and difficulties. Nevertheless, you should write out those values, 3 to 5 top values that you can focus on and that can help drive the way you behave in your leadership. And so going back to the example, the values that my client wrote down that are driving the way that he's behaving are trust, accountability, and continuous development. And each one of those means something unique to him. But he uses those values to focus him as he grows in his leadership responsibilities and as he seeks to achieve the mission and the vision that he has laid out for himself. Now let's talk about your edge. What sets you apart from the other 7 billion people on this planet? Let me give you an example. We're going to dive into this idea of talent stack in this portion of the dashboard known as edge. Scott Adams is the creator of the Dilbert cartoon, and he has coined the term talent stack. And Scott is an example of this. If you know the Dilbert cartoon, he's not exactly the best artist in the world, right? There are other artists that are better than him, and he's not necessarily a great business expert. There are more savvy business people and entrepreneurs, but he does have a degree in business and experience in building businesses. And he's never taken a college-level writing class. Yet he created Dilbert, a comic strip that appears in 65 countries. And he's said to have a net worth of roughly $75 million, the majority of which comes from Dilbert. So he took a pretty good cartooning skill, along with a fairly good business savvy and a pretty good writing skill, and he stacked those all together and created something unique. How can you identify your edge? Think about your unique qualities, attributes, gifts, strengths, and value that set you apart as a leader. What do you do that others notice and say, hey, that one thing that you do there, you do it very well? Perhaps you can look at your edge in this way. Make this statement: unlike others in my field, I do X. What is that X that you do that is unlike others in your field? What do you find pleasure in that is work-related, that you understand can help you to achieve your vision and your mission? Why don't people want to talk about their edge or their talent stack? Sometimes it's a sense that, well, I shouldn't be boasting about myself. And we're really not talking about boasting about ourselves when we talk about our edge. We're talking about understanding ourselves. Because the deeper we understand ourselves, the more effective we can be in our leadership. It's a practical way of thinking about the best way you can have an impact. And so think about a superintendent. Let's think about what are some of the talent stacks that might make a really good superintendent. Well, first, they might have technical knowledge. They might not understand the technical aspects of every job to the deepest possible level, but they have a sufficient technical knowledge that when they go onto a job site and they're talking to a foreman or a leadman or an operator, they know what they're talking about. So the second thing is they have the ability to see the big picture. Whereas, say, an engineer or an operator may be focused just on executing their task, the superintendents can see how their task flows into the whole big picture of the project. And with their technical understanding added to their big picture view, that gives them an advantage. And then they not only have a technical understanding and a big picture view, but they have leadership skills. They understand how to keep someone accountable. They can control themselves. They can communicate clearly. And again, they may not be the best leader that ever walked the planet. They may not have the best technical skills or have the biggest vision, but they have sufficient technical skills. They see the big picture well enough, and they are good enough leaders that when you put those three things together, it makes them pretty darn effective. That's an example of a talent stack. What is your talent stack? What are the 2 or 3 things that you do well that when they're put together make you really effective? What is your edge? And if you consistently show up with integrity, living out your values, and focus your energies on the areas where you perform best, your leadership impact is going to be massive. Okay? So let me give you an example. This gentleman who I was walking through the dashboard, his edge is building relationships, leading teams, and strong work ethic. And he has put those together in his talent stack to build a successful career as a construction leader. What is your edge that sets you apart from others? And on this particular thing, if you're unclear, one of the most effective things you can do is actually sit down with someone and ask them, what is it that I do well that other people don't? And don't do it from an insecure perspective or anything like that. All you're looking to do is to identify what sets you apart from other people. With this idea of vision, mission, values, and edge, then the construction leader gets into action. And the next area of the dashboard is initiatives. And why is it important to have a clear set of initiatives that you're executing on? Because it helps you to get focus, it helps you to make progress, and it protects you from distractions. And how long should your initiatives last? Well, the answer to that is it depends. But I've seen that the best set of initiatives cover a variety of timeframes. You could have a monthly initiative, you could have a quarterly initiative, you could have an annual initiative. But I would say you should have no more than 3 to 5 initiatives identified on your construction leader's dashboard. Okay, so for instance, on a monthly basis, you might set an initiative to focus in on safety. And that could be the theme for your month. And so you're going to communicate that to your guys in the field. You're going to communicate that to your project managers. You're going to make sure that the superintendents and the foremen are really on their game in terms of inculcating the safety procedures that are vital to the success of your company. On a quarterly basis as a leader, you might set an initiative to have regular one-on-ones with your direct reports. You really should be meeting with them every other week, every third week at the most. I know many of you only meet with your one-on-ones monthly. I would advise you to pick that up a little bit. And then you might have an annual initiative in terms of developing relationships with someone on the outside. Think of this for a moment. Who is the one client that if a year from now you had developed a relationship with them and had an opportunity to bid on a project, who is that one client which you would be able to say, man, if I've got these folks on board and we're doing some work for them, that would be super awesome. Think about that in terms of a potential annual initiative. Intelligent action is absolutely essential to effective leadership. And so let me give you an example from my client again of the initiatives that he set out. The overall initiative is operational excellence. And the three areas that he was going to execute on in terms of his operational excellence was safety, quality, and production. Those are the initiatives that he laid out. And to check if you're on the right track, make sure that your initiatives align with your vision, your mission, your values, and your edge. And if they don't, you're going to be frustrated and fail to perform at your best. The next aspect of the Construction Leader's Dashboard are your metrics. And your metrics are directly tied to your initiatives. Seth Godin, the author and marketing expert, has a good quote here. A useful metric is both accurate in that it measures what it says it measures and aligned with your goals. Don't measure anything unless the data helps you make a better decision or change your actions. This is key here. The whole idea of having metrics is not just to show off and say, look what I've done, but the metrics should help you to make better decisions and change your actions. Once you've identified your initiatives, you need to tie them to concrete performance metrics. Because, as I said earlier, what gets measured gets monitored, and it gives you motivation. And the best metrics are things that can be checked regularly, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly or a monthly basis to keep you on track. And if you're struggling to define your metrics, ask for some outside help to get clarity so that you have no room to hide when it comes to monitoring your leadership performance. Let me give you some examples here from my client. His initiatives were safety, quality, and production. So his metrics were, number one, 0 injuries and incidents. That's tied to his safety. Number 2, reducing rework by half. That's tied to the quality. And then increase production by 1%. That's tied to the production. The initiatives and the metrics are lined together. The metrics help you to make decisions, to know where you need to act. And they're not vanity metrics. They're actually useful. The next part of the Construction Leader's Dashboard is relationships. Now, how do you maintain a healthy bank balance? I am not a financial expert, but I will tell you the very simple way to maintain a healthy bank balance. You must deposit more than you withdraw. And the same is true in relationships. You understand how essential relationships are in regards to the success of your organization. And relationships are established over a period of time as you make more deposits in people's lives than you do withdrawals. In other words, as you contribute to their success, as you show concern for them, as you help them to achieve their goals, they will then help you to achieve your goals. And relationships are maintained over time through consistent interaction. And the deeper your relationships are with the people that you work with and the people for whom you do work with your project partners, the deeper, the better, the healthier your relationships are, the more likely you're going to be able to achieve your vision and your mission. Think about the types of relationships that you have. If you are the owner of your construction company, you are the boss. If you're the senior executive, the CEO, or the president, you're the boss. But perhaps you're a mid-level manager and you have peers, you have direct reports. You've got to think about where you are in your organization, how you affect others in the place that you sit in your company. Who are the people that are most critical to your success? Be sure to consider relationships up, down, and across your organization. And after you've identified these people, think about how you can cultivate relationships with them. And a powerful way to do this is to help them to achieve their goals or advance their careers. This will set in motion the principle of reciprocity. Say that 10 times fast. Reciprocation is a key part of relationships. In other words, if you do something for someone, it increases the likelihood that they're going to do something for you. In other words, if you make a deposit into their lives, it's much more likely that they will reciprocate that back. And if you want to make healthy relationships and develop healthy relationships, make more deposits in the lives of others, more contributions in the lives of others than withdrawals. Give more than you take, and your relationships will become stronger. And so the example of the construction leader I've been walking you through, he identified someone in estimating, someone from a supplier of his and a direct report whom he needed to develop a relationship with in a more deep way, and began to make deposits in each one of those folks' lives so that he could then receive back what he needed from them in order to help achieve his vision and his mission. All right, and so the final aspect of the construction leader's dashboard is development opportunities. I enjoy playing the guitar, and I'm not very good at it, but I have learned a secret for how to learn new songs, and that is really simple. You break down the song into little chunks, and you just work on that chunk until you get it, and then you add another chunk, and another chunk. And over time, you develop your competency in playing the song. What are the chunks that you need to work on in order to develop yourself as a leader? What are the experiences, assignments, skills, educational opportunities, and other professional development opportunities that will advance your career, that will impact your leadership? Think of it in terms of the technical things, the hard skills that you need to learn. The soft skills of communication are where you need to improve. Okay, so think about those particular development opportunities that you have. And I'll give you an example, again, from the gentleman I was working with. He understood that he needed to develop himself in terms of his delegation, in terms of his mindset. He was a bit of a perfectionist and he had to let go a little bit. And then in terms of his time management. So delegation is a skill. The mindset around perfectionism is kind of an attitude that he had to develop, which is a little trickier. But then the time management one is a very practical one as well. And he understood that those three things would help him to achieve the goals that he had in terms of his vision and his mission. And by the way, there's lots of good guitar teachers on YouTube. That's the place I go to find my inspiration for guitar. So if you play guitar, feel free to check out Anyone Can Play Guitar UK. It's an English guy. He does a lot of stuff from the 80s and the 90s, as well as some blues. And I think you'll enjoy it if you play guitar. Free tip there. Now, as I'm going through this dashboard, you might be thinking, well, I don't really need this. Okay, so just ask yourself, how much do you get distracted in your leadership? And how clear are you on your top priorities, and are you able to execute them? If you are finding yourself distracted or discouraged or unclear on anything that you need to accomplish in terms of your leadership, I think you'll find the dashboard a very, very useful tool. And you may not think that you don't have time to do it. And that's exactly why you need the dashboard. Really, it should take you no more than an hour or two at the most to sit down and take a first pass over the dashboard and get a real clear picture of what you need to do in order to maximize your leadership impact. And you might have tried things like this before and you weren't able to execute on it, or it didn't work. And that's why I would encourage you, if you do take this dashboard and use it as a leadership tool, that you keep it with you and you review it on a weekly basis and set up some accountability, perhaps with another person in your office, so that you can keep track of what you're doing and how you're working on executing on your dashboard. And that can help you to be more successful. So I've walked you through this entire dashboard. I've walked you through an example of one of my clients who's filled out this dashboard. And let me give you some feedback from what his supervisor said. Our business ramps up in the summer, and when things are going crazy, our guys keep our field operations running smoothly. They tell me that using the construction leader's dashboard framework that Eric introduced to them has been awesome, because they've been able to put pen to paper, clarify their personal goals, and relate them to their leadership responsibilities and the company's objectives. It's helped to simplify their focus and anchor them back into what they've committed to accomplishing this season. So it's a very powerful tool. So let me just give you a little summary here. We started by talking about the 8 qualities of great leaders. Then we talked about the benefits of having a dashboard, and then we walked through the dashboard itself. And we began by exploring the origin of the word dashboard. And while the term dashboard didn't work itself into popular English until the 1800s, the concept of a dashboard existed long before then. In fact, Mesopotamian chariots dating as far back as 3000 BC employed similar guards against mud and rocks. So humans have always known the importance of protecting themselves and of keeping their minds focused on what's most important. And the construction leader's dashboard can help you to do exactly that. Protect you from distractions and keep you focused on achieving your very best in terms of your leadership. And so the next steps are very, very straightforward. Just go to the show notes and you can download the dashboard, click the link there. You can fill it out for yourself. And I would encourage you, after you fill it out, to check in with someone. Give it to someone who you report to perhaps, or someone who reports to you, or an outside peer, and ask them, what do you think about this? Is this something that makes sense? Does this look like I'm in the right direction? Get some feedback there. Share the Construction Leaders Dashboard and use it to coach others and hold them accountable. And like I've said earlier, this is a tool that I use with all of my executive coaching clients. And if you'd like to chat with me about executive coaching, feel free to go to my website and contact me. You can just find me there either on my website, or you can go to LinkedIn and find me there as well. I appreciate you listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Feel free to give us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. And I hope you find the Construction Leaders Dashboard a useful tool. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity. And to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.